there's always dangers when people have revelation of truth, that there's also some mixture there with it. And what I see, you know, I've shared for the last few years that I see, you know, a number of streams all coming to flow eventually into a stream of restoration. And that does include, obviously, sort of the inclusion thing, but it also includes those who are in the mystical area, but it also includes those in the eschatological area and the frequency area, the healing area. And they're all getting revelation, but only when it comes together in one stream will that revelation be purified into one heart of restoration. So when there's a reaction to a particular area, often the reaction swings the pendulum too far back the other way. So those that are denying that there's any spiritual realms, which is denying that there's any angels, fallen angels, or any of that stuff, I've never experienced them because they're not mystical. So they're denying something because there's a reaction against the whole thing of inclusion and the areas they're coming there for, you know. And there are those that are having a revelation of eschatology as being realized, which I think eventually will lead them to inclusion, because the same scriptures that they used to believe talked about hell and destruction, they're realizing talked about something that's already happened. Well, the same things referred to, therefore, hell within the same thing as eschatology. Well, if there's no eschatological end like that, well, then actually there's no hell like that either. And eventually those things will become one. But on the journey, there is danger that it becomes unbalanced in an area. And I think those that are coming to the whole thing of inclusion, but rejecting that sort of spiritual dynamic, we need to steer them back by sharing the reality of our experiences. You know, they're saying what they're saying because they've never experienced it. Well, these things don't exist. Well, okay, I know what they're saying with the demonic realm is it is all in people's heads, and a lot of it is. I'm not saying it isn't. And the way we think does determine a lot, but that thinking can also be manipulated. The other side of it, when they're sort of almost denying the supernatural, the heavenly, is actually just then, what is it? Coming back to an earthly only, you know? And so I think you've got to sort of tread carefully on how, and not try and argue it, not try and win an argument and tell them they're wrong. Actually just say, well, here's my experience. I actually engaged 3 angels and they did this. I went into the realms of heaven, as we're encouraged to do, you know. And so you share your positive experiences to maybe awaken them to the reality there may be something beyond what they're looking at. Because all the people you mentioned, totally, on board with a lot of what they say. But on the flip side of it, then there's a danger that there's an overreaction, and that overreaction can then lead into missing where it's going. And I don't think without all those 4 streams coming together as one, will there be a fullness of restoration, from a perspective of they encompass all these things, and I think God has been bringing revelation to reveal the deception that people are in, but that very revelation can become, well, this is it, as opposed to, well, this is only one part of revelation and there's more. And hence they will end up becoming denominations if they denominate around what they believe, and therefore don't continue to engage the progressive way God is unveiling other revelation. What I have isn't enough on my own. I need other people's revelation that I have, and I've embraced the revelation of all of those. For me, I think, well, I am definitely embraced the mystical. I'm engaging heaven. I've engaged a realized eschatology. I certainly have engaged inclusion, and I've engaged healing frequencies and energy and frequency. So for me, I'm like, they all make total sense to be functioning in one restoration stream. And maybe I'm just odd that way, that I've been able to, but I don't hold on to, I am right, and this is the only right way. I've realized that my deconstruction has shown me how wrong I can be. So I'm not going to be so dogmatic to say this is the only way. And I've therefore am open to the Father, show me the bigger picture. Now, part of the problem with the groups that focused on one major area and don't see the bigger picture, they think that that's the only thing. Yeah, it's like being in the room with a dark room with an elephant. Some people think the elephant is like a curly piece of string because they're holding the tail. Some people think the elephant's like a big tube because they're holding the trunk. It's like they don't see the big picture. The elephant has all those bits. And I think what God is doing encompasses all these different streams, but there's a danger in each stream excluding the other if they don't get to see the bigger picture. And I would encourage to share a bigger picture, share where this is going. Because if you're thinking of inclusion and you exclude creation from inclusion and only include people, well, that's only partial. So inclusion needs to go to restoration, not just, all are included in what Jesus did on the cross. It needs to go to restoration, and I think that is really how we can sort of encourage people, is by sharing some big picture stuff and sharing our own testimonies of what we've experienced in the areas that they're saying don't exist, or they're having revelation that is actually closing an area down, because all of us are open to that. If we're not careful, if we don't maintain an open heart and open mind, and we then become closed to other things, then the danger is then we can exclude other people and other things because it doesn't fit in with our particular area. But I find no need to separate any of those 4 areas of revelation, because to me they all make total sense when they come together as one. But again, union to me is the key in all this. Hi everyone, we're starting a Patreon page, patreon.com/freedomarc, and we would like to invite you to partner with us in taking the message of God's unconditional love, limitless grace, triumphant mercy to a bigger global audience.